okay. We arrived in Mexico on July 30th, and one of the things I would recommend, it's a tough trip, get the wheelchair access, especially if you have trouble walking. You know, it's not, you want to do it. They got you right to the front line, got you right through customs, so it was nice. We had one guy drop us off at the wrong spot on accident, and then my mom went and talked to the front desk, and they got to the bottom of it. But it was a little iffy for a minute there, being in Mexico City, which is the giant airport, and sprawling, and being dropped off in the language barrier. Well, you know, wasn't comfortable. Like, I couldn't speak to anyone to figure out where to go or what to do. But that guy got told that he made the mistake and came back, got us, and brought us in. It's not close distances between where he dropped us and where, so it was a long ways. And these dudes are hustling when they're pushing in the wheelchair, and my poor mom's tagging along behind, having to carry all this stuff. And I think she should have faked having MS also, but so get the wheelchair access. That's definitely worth it. When we got here to Mexico, and I made a video showing the apartment, which is, you know, pretty impressive. We decided to go shopping. Now, Mexico's been experiencing a heat dome, and yeah, it's hot, to the point where, like, people in the city are using their air conditioners so much they don't have the infrastructure to support it. So, like the one guy said, he thinks it's all going to different hospitals, but anyways, everybody is having trouble with their air conditioning. It's hot everywhere, and the apartment has AC, but it's an ongoing problem, and they're working on it, and they're aware of it. So I decided in this heat wave, it would be a genius move to show everybody how unheat intolerant I am, and go shopping. And I would say, so hot, I probably, you know, I knew right away, because the van we were riding in was already hot. So I don't know why I thought I would make it, because I knew I was going to step out and have problems. So the shopping trip got cut pretty short. You know, my mom did most of the shopping, had to run around, and I was riding in one of those scooters from, you know, at the grocery store that you can shop in, and I basically broke down. I'm not like crying or anything, because I'm a tough guy, but I did fall apart, though. Like, I was no longer a functioning human, and I don't know what.
Oh, your hands! You couldn't even steer the cart at one point.
Oh yeah, it was so bad. I felt like I couldn't drive a scooter. I mean, that's how bad it was. So, but we had to cut it short. There was multiple people shopping. So there was what, two or three
other couples with us?
Yeah, two other
groups.
Yeah, groups. Because they come in twos, right? One caregiver, one patient. So they stayed and were still shopping, and they were able to shop. But our driver went ahead and took me back to our apartment, and we just got the few things we got, and then they'll go for you. You don't even have to go. So I don't know why I braved it and thought I could, but that was that move. So that was basically the story of that day. You know, got through it, just getting over being here and stuff. And then day two, let me refer to the notes. I had 3 MRIs that day, and this was not like any MRIs I'd ever had. I've had a few MRIs as someone with MS would, but these seemed way more thorough, and it was an open, like, you know, most of them have a dome where you're stuck in like a claustrophobic tube, and this one wasn't, but there was a little thing that they put you under, but you were pretty open to the air and everything. But the bad part was that I had a ton of different contraptions they put on me. So had one they put, which I think this is for the thorax, or I think that's a bug thing. I don't know what I'm saying. Thoracic spine. And they put this thing to MRI that, like, it was almost like having a cuff that stuck to the table on your neck. And when I first did it, and then it was like choking me and hitting my Adam's apple, they had to do an adjustment and then pin it back on there. Each one of these MRIs is 35 minutes, so, you know, it's not it might have been 25 minutes. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I was the one with the heat exhaustion. But that one was tough. They also had one where they did my like my arms were up like this, and there was a rib blocker, and it held my arms. It was literally right up to my arms, so I couldn't put my hands down. So I had to hold my hands up, and I had to like tingle my fingers like this. That's what they told me to do if my hands are falling asleep. And they totally were falling asleep literally the entire time, and I had to do that constantly to keep them from falling asleep. But I got that done. So
After several bathroom trips.
Yeah. Getting MRIs with bladder weakness is not fun, but got through it. Got through the MRIs, and then that was basically. I met with a neurologist, but I was in the middle of such heat exhaustion that she was asking me questions about my diagnosis story or not my story, but she wanted to know the history and the onset of symptoms and when they started and what was first. And I just couldn't, I honestly probably couldn't go through what was first on any of that anyways, just because I feel like at one point I just hit a downhill run on MS and it all never stopped. It's just like one new symptom after another new symptom, then that one would go and this one would appear, and then my eye would freak out, then my pupil would dilate. So I couldn't articulate that anyways, but I couldn't even tell her what I wanted to say about what I knew and what happened. So I was way overheated. Luckily she knew about MS and was very familiar with the symptoms that people get and the heat intolerance. So she was super cool. But it's still, the whole day in general, I ran through all the history I could with her and said as much as I could get. Started to cool off a little bit and speak more human-like, but still MS brain foggy nut job-like. So, got out as much as I could, but, she got the gist of it. And so that was day 2. And it was a tough, hot day. And then day 3, which is today, and that was August 1st. I had an orientation with all of the different specialists that would be dealing in the stem cell transplant. So there was like a hematologist. I'm trying to think of all who was there. It was a hematologist. Let me see if I can. Well, I'm not going to name it all, but there were definitely hematologists. And
a hematologist.
Yeah. But so I met with all the doctors. They talked about all of their different areas of expertise and how they would help, and just gave you the rundown of all of the things that you would be experiencing and going through, and a little bit of the history. But I've been on this, studying this, and watching 1,000 hours of podcasts and listening to the HSCT Warrior podcast. Literally, I think I've heard every one of them, and I'd fall asleep to it and wake up hearing the same ones. And so a lot of it I was familiar with just already, but still it was, cool to see all the people that were going to be involved and get the rundown. Had a few sidebars like that wanted some questions, like some doctors that were asking about, just all kinds of history stuff of all the illnesses and stuff that I went through in my life, and got that all figured out. And then after that, I went and saw. Let's see, I'm not sure what this doctor is, but she was super cool, and they did the spirometry test, which was like a test where you gotta blow into a tube as hard as you can for as long as you can, and just to prove, I guess, that you have the lung function to be able to deal with the MS. And so I passed that, and then I think that was the last one I saw today.
Mm-hmm.
And then
waiting for your med bags.
Yeah, and then basically I got approved. I don't remember how that final approval came down. It was probably a slow trickle, or
after they gave you your blood type, they told you.
Yeah, they found out I was A negative, which was one that I'd been searching to find out forever. I'd been asking the doctors here, and they'd literally taken, I bet, 18 vials of my blood when I was getting diagnosed with MS, and they couldn't tell me what my blood type was. So they said I had to go donate, and then they could tell you. And so that was cool because I'd been hunting that for years, trying to figure it out.
They wanted to make sure you were aware of your blood type because it's negative, and they said it's important.
Yeah, because of donations or if anything happened,
You
it is
can't get
important to know your
positive
own
blood.
blood. Yeah, it's important to know your blood type. So figure out your blood type, people. But let's see, where was I? Okay, so I can't remember who had said that I could go ahead. Who gave that final word? I can't remember.
It was the cool lady that did the spirology
yes,
test.
the spirometry. And I passed that, so they said, it looks like I'm fit to have this procedure done. So I was okayed, and I start chemotherapy tomorrow. So there'll be more videos coming, and you know, it's so hard to like in the middle of these meetings to stop and, you know, get all this stuff together, and I'm like so done by the time the day is done that, you know, I don't know, it's just hard to get a video out all the time. So I'm trying to document as much because I think it's important for all of these people that are looking to get this procedure done. I want to document it, whether it goes good, whether it goes bad, however it goes. It's not going to go bad, but just I want it to be an honest documentation of what the procedure was like. Then this doctor gave us these bags. Trying to find the zipper. So they gave us these bags of meds that we'll have to take with the chemotherapy, and they'll call and instruct us in, you know, every day about what to take when and all that. And they gave us an iPhone, by the way, and that iPhone has all the doctors and everyone involved's phone number on it, and there's a group chat with all of them, and you can talk to them about any questions you have. So there's all that good stuff.
Masks.
Yeah, and I do have to take some of this stuff, all of this stuff. This is a definite take, but they'll instruct me on what I'm supposed to take when, and I start tomorrow, so in the morning I think, or at least
At noon is your first pill.
And then this is a bag of stuff that you are not to get into, and that this is for if you have any of the issues. Like I was listening to the HSCT podcast or HSCT Warrior podcast, and I've heard lots of, you know, little things, like nothing was super bad and all of it seemed to be resolved, but I did hear a few of the people telling their stories of things that went wrong. I've heard of people that had to have blood transfusions, and it's a super rare instance that occurs that if chemotherapy, you know, I don't know what would cause you to need to have a blood transfusion, but it didn't quite react the right way, I guess, then they'll get you a blood transfusion. It's also covered in the cost. And then these meds, if you do need them, I believe you have to pay for these. So if you do end up using one, then it's going to cost, which the medicine here is so much cheaper than anywhere. So I'd rather get it here than to have to get it somewhere else anyways. But so that was the little bag that they gave us, and then that was kind of the parting ways. And I got to show up tomorrow and start chemo, and I will report back and let you guys know how that goes. I have no idea how I'll handle chemo. And that HSCT Warrior podcast, I've heard all of it. I've heard of people that had a tough time with it, heard people that didn't have any trouble with it at all. I'm hoping that's me, but you know, who knows? I'm willing to go through it to get to it, so I will report back.
Fun fact is that they told me it's highly unusual to have a group where everybody was within 1 year of each other in age.
Yeah.
And that was our group. Everybody's the same
Yeah.
age.
But I'm the best looking one by far.
He's the only male. Oh, the reason they put you in the apartments because of the hospitals and the diseases.
They do. So over that orientation that they had, they talked about how being in this apartment and getting procedures done here and then staying here. You're a lot safer in this environment. This apartment gets cleaned every day, and they go crazy. Like, they fog it, sterilize it, and you have much more of a chance of getting some kind of a dangerous infection at a hospital where all the sick people are coming and all the people with infections and all that you just have a higher chance of catching something that goes bad when you have a weakened immune system. So the odds are better of having a better outcome in a place like this. So that's why they hooked us up with the apartment. I wish they hooked me up. I mean, I don't get it, but yeah, and I'll report tomorrow or within the next couple of days and explain the chemotherapy and how all that went.